People who have seen my documentary on Wentworth Woodhouse will know that I am a big fan of this magnificent country home. Wentworth is indeed a house of epic proportions, and now under the care of the Wentworth Woodhouse Preservation Trust is undergoing an epic multi-million-pound restoration. In this video, I'm going behind the scenes at Wentworth Woodhouse and exploring areas of the house that have up until now been unseen by the public. From grand staterooms and halls to dilapidated bedrooms and corridors, join me on an exclusive tour of one of Europe's largest country homes. I've been absolutely fascinated with Wentworth Woodhouse for quite some years now, so being afforded the opportunity to make this video has been a real privilege, and I'm really excited to share it with you. I just want to say a massive thank you to the Wentworth Woodhouse Preservation Trust, and in particular Steve, for giving me this opportunity. I've actually visited Wentworth Woodhouse on 2 occasions now. The first was at the beginning of summer 2021. At which point, important repairs to the roof had largely been completed, and scaffolding that had obscured the east front of the house for the past few years had all but gone. I instantly fell in love with the place and was keen to find out more about its fascinating history. This resulted in me putting together a short documentary, and if you want to learn more about the history of Wentworth Woodhouse, then please be sure to check it out. Link above. Keen to visit again, however, I was delighted when in September the same year, one of the excellent volunteers, Steve, got in contact and asked if I'd be interested in having an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour. Needless to say, I bit Steve's hands off, and on a typically wet Yorkshire day in October, I found myself once again gawping up at the imposing figure of Wentworth Woodhouse. Spanning an impressive 185 metres, the east front of the house is the largest facade of any house in Europe, and when completed in 1750 was considered one of the first great Palladian houses in Britain. You can't not be absolutely blown away by the spectacular architecture. In making my way beneath the giant portico for the second time in my life, I was just as overwhelmed. I met with Steve within the magnificent pillared hall. This is the first interior space visitors to the house experience. I was fortunate that on my visit the house was closed to the public, but that was not to say it was quiet. Wentworth was a hive of activity, with staff members zipping around, making arrangements for up-and-coming engagements, and restoration works ongoing all around me. The place was absolutely buzzing. This was fantastic to see, as although Wentworth Woodhouse was once as revered as the likes of Chatsworth and Castle Howard, as Steve reminded me, when the Wentworth Woodhouse Preservation Trust took over in 2017, the house was a shadow of its former self and had all but been forgotten. It's fair to say that the post-war decades had been very unkind on this enormous structure, and we can imagine the trustees must have felt at least a little overwhelmed when they were handed the keys. This passage from the Trust's 2018 master plan in New Life sums up the state of the house in 2007 perfectly. The mansion, stables and camellia house are riddled with asbestos and uninhabitable. Dry rot is endemic, drains have collapsed, roofs are leaking, bats are roosting, timbers are rotting and stonework deteriorating. This, in all honesty, sounds like a passage from a Stephen King novel. But 4 years on, as I met Steve amongst the pillars of the entrance hall, there was a definite air of optimism about the place, and the future of the house seems bright, despite the dark clouds outside. The Trust have been very transparent, not just about the challenges they are facing, but the high costs associated with such an epic restoration. And they very much see this project as an opportunity to engage the public and get people involved in the process. With this borne in mind, Steve was keen to show me both sides of the house, the good and the bad, and where better to start than the main staircase. Built on the back of the Palladian-styled pillared hall and serving as a gateway to the grand staterooms, John Carr's remarkable neoclassical staircase makes a spectacular first impression. Dating to 1801 and ensconced in plaster in 1803, this grand staircase just oozes class and sophistication. As we ascended the red carpet that guided our way up towards the house's principal room, I couldn't help but be mesmerised by the beautiful marble busts and statues set against their striking blue backgrounds. The staircase, however, merely serves as a prelude to the main show, as the Marble Saloon is the real jewel in the Woodhouse's crown. This spectacular, vast open space has been called England's finest Georgian room, and for good reason. It is utterly mind-blowing. The restoration of this grand room is far from complete, however, and like many of the other interior spaces, has suffered damage due to water ingress. This is evident in the intricate plaster ceiling, but with repairs to the roof now complete, the Marble Saloon can look forward to some much-deserved love and attention. I almost died when Steve asked if I wanted to go up onto the balcony. The views across the hall are absolutely spectacular, and the marble floor can be seen in all its glory. Although originally made of wood, the marble was a later addition, and beautifully mimics the design of the ceiling. The Marble Saloon is an absolute sight to behold, and at 60 feet wide by 60 feet high serves as one of the finest and most impressive interior spaces of any country home in Britain. The Marble Saloon, like much of the house, is no stranger to the big screen. You may recognise this as the backdrop to the ball scene in the Downton Abbey movie, and in the hit movie Darkest Hour, the hall provides the backdrop to some of the interiors of Buckingham Palace. After the grandeur of the Marble Saloon, it was hard to imagine how dilapidated some parts of the house were. But as we ventured into the belly of the beast, it became more and more apparent just how much restoration work was still to be done. First, we entered some of the private rooms used by the last owner of the house, Mr. Clifford Newbold. These rooms had been in pristine condition, having been previously restored and freshly wallpapered. But following the death of Mr. Newbold in April 2015, his efforts were largely undone as a result of water ingress caused by blocked drains and leaking roofs. This damage was further apparent as we ventured into a suite of rooms situated directly above the long gallery. These included an old nursery, the nanny's room and a dressing room. Fortunately, the roof above this suite was repaired in 2018, and interestingly, as pointed out by Steve, this is the only stone-tiled roof on the main house, which is suggestive of it belonging to the original 1630s structure. Speaking of the original house, very little of this exists today. Fortunately, however, we get a good glimpse into the past in the form of the oak staircase. Although later remodelled, the staircase sits within the oldest part of the house, and was largely engulfed by the massive extensions that took form from 1725. Hi guys, I really hope that you're enjoying this video so far. If you are, and you want to see more like this, then please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to this channel. Your support is incredibly important to me, and it means I can keep making these videos and sharing them with you. Anyway, on with the video. Also situated in the west front of the house is the long gallery. Although remodelled in 1743, and divided by columns in 1760, the long gallery is believed to have been a part of the original Jacobean house, and has certainly always featured as part of the private living apartments. Most recently, the long gallery was used as a private drawing room. This light-filled space commands stunning views over the gardens to the west, so you can see why it's always been an important part of the house. Wentworth Woodhouse is a house that was designed to impress. This is very evident in the impressive staterooms. Reserved for the most important guests and dignitaries, the staterooms at Wentworth are pretty much as good as they get. I don't want to ruin the experience for you, but some of the highlights for me include the phenomenal whistle jacket room with its splendid stucco work and heavy gilding, and the chandelier lit Van Dyck room with its decorated ceiling and intricate plasterwork. The staterooms are in a very good state of repair and form an important part of the visitor experience. Fun fact, the whistle jacket room is another room that featured in the hit movie Darkest Hour and serves as one of the spectacular backdrops to Buckingham Palace. In stark contrast to the opulence and grandeur of the staterooms, the Bedlam Wing is likely the most derelict part of the house. Emerging from a wood-panelled corridor on the ground floor, I found myself in a very different world. Gone were the chandeliers, paintings and polished floors of the main house. Instead, I found myself within a place you might find in one of those urban exploration videos. The Trust have big plans for this part of the building, but for now the challenges faced are vast indeed. The Bedlam Wing occupies the south range of the house and essentially comprises 3 floors of bedroom accommodation. This was where bachelor guests and male servants of house guests would have been accommodated. Steve told me that the wing was heavily remodelled during World War II for the use of the Army Intelligence Corps, and later served as student accommodation as part of the Lady Mabel College of Further Education, later Sheffield Hallam. Apparently, when the Trust took over in 2017, this part of the house was totally derelict, with the roof close to collapse. Fortunately, the Bedlam Wing was re-roofed as part of emergency repairs in 2018 and can now be developed into commercial units or holiday accommodation. This will help generate some much needed income for the Trust and ensure the long-term longevity of the house. Included in these plans is the restoration of what is known as the Adam Room, occupying the south tower and commanding spectacular views over the surrounding parkland. This once beautiful room served as a private study to the Earls Fitzwilliam, and even features a private bridge connecting it to the gardens to the west of the house. Although not much to look at today, this room has so much potential, and with the Trust hoping to raise enough funds to repair the roof of the south tower, could be turned into something quite special indeed. Making our way back into the warmth of the main house, our next port of call was a stunning wood-panelled room known as the boudoir. This room previously served as Mr. Newbold's TV room, and although he made restorations to the wonderful ceiling, water ingress has caused damage to the plasterwork, and until the leaky roof has been repaired, further restoration work will have to wait. Moving on next door, we entered the Countess's bedroom. Adopting a pale yellow theme, the ceiling is the main feature of this otherwise fairly restrained room. I am told this bedroom featured in ITV's Victoria. The Earl's bedroom was the final room I explored, and like the yellow bedroom next door, features a spectacular plaster ceiling. This lovely room is still in use by visitors today, and has always featured as a bedroom. Featuring its own bath, the Earl's bedroom was always known amongst the Fitzwilliam owners as the Bath-in Bedroom. Wentworth Woodhouse is like no other country home in Britain. Where else can you go and experience such an important heritage site being brought back to life? Wentworth Woodhouse is on a journey of rediscovery, and we are all invited along for the ride. As you have hopefully seen, whilst much progress has been made in restoring this magnificent house, there is so much more to do. And without the support of visitors, investors and other stakeholders, the exceptionally important task of preserving Wentworth Woodhouse would just not be possible. So if you have enjoyed this video and you have been inspired by what you have seen, I urge you to visit this world-class heritage site yourself. Your admission fee alone will directly help in securing the future of the Wentworth estate, but perhaps just as important, by word of mouth we can help to revive Wentworth's formidable reputation. For more information, please visit www.wentworthwoodhouse.org.uk, and also be sure to check out their excellent YouTube page for updates and exclusive insights into the goings-on at Wentworth Woodhouse. Link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.